Hello everyone. So today we are writing the test cases for create user. So first I will show you how our page looks like, then we will proceed for writing the test cases. Okay, so our page looks like this. Let us suppose if user came and click on create button without filling the form, the error will appears, and after that I will successfully fill the form and click on create button. It will successfully created the user and redirects back to the user page. So we are covering two scenario for writing the UI test for create user. One is for if user successfully fill the form, then it will create user and redirects back to the user page. And the second one is if the user does not fill the form and click on create button, it will show some validation error. Okay, so I've created the boilerplate for create user. I'll explain you each and everything how it works for import and all. So first thing we need to render the page inside document.body. So for this React testing library provide one method, that is render. This is basically used to render that page inside document.body. If you want to check whether this page will be successfully present inside document.body or not, so for that React testing library provides one object that is called screen, which is basically used to query each and everything that will be present inside document.body. So for a screen I am checking whether that document.body is created for this page or not. So I am using screen.debug. So let's check how our document.body looks like. I am running the test cases. So see, our DOM node looks like this. It is basically a form like username, user email, gender, date of birth, role, terms and condition for checkbox, and at the end there is one button that is called create. Okay, so our DOM node will be created. And for form we need to track event also. So we need to track event by using importing user event. So let us suppose if I go to this form and I need to type something inside this text box. So for this the method name will be type. So what I should do is I am clicking user.type and I am querying this text box by get by role text box whose name is username, and then I am passing the value that is Sanjeev. And this is same for email also, ki I am typing inside email. So I am getting by role text box whose name is user email, and I am typing the value that is @gmail.com. and for radio button I need to go and click to check one of these male, female and others. So I am clicking male. So the event name will be click user.click. I am getting the role get by role. This is of type radio and whose name is male, and then I am passing the value that is male. And for date of birth I am typing something and I am getting the role by get by label text. This is for D.O.B. This is insensitive, and then I'm passing the value 2000 08 10. And for select option, let us suppose you don't know how to query and all. So what you should do is just copy your DOM node. That means whatever present inside body, just copy it from here go to your Chrome and search for React Testing Playground and open the first link and paste it here. So it will show you your form. Let us suppose you don't know how to query this select option. So if you click here, it will give you the query like screen.getByRole. Just query and pass the value. So I'm just using user.select option and querying this select and passing the value, that is admin. And for checkbox, I'm querying for checkbox I need to track event, that is called click, and I am getting the checkbox by getByRole. This is checkbox, so name is what I should pass. If I click here, it will give you this one, agree terms and condition, and I'm passing the value, that is true. Okay, and after that I'm clicking on create button, user.click screen.getByRole button whose name is create. So if I click on create button, it will successfully created a user. So for this I'm calling the API. So for that I'm mocking. First of all, we need to mock the API. So for mocking, Jest will provide functionality like jest.fn where you can use to mock the API so that you can reuse it for testing purposes. So promise.result, I'm passing the value like status true. Entity will be name, some name, email equals to s@gmail.com, role is users, date of birth will be 2008 10, and what other will be there, gender is male, and terms and conditions TITIONS, terms and conditions should be true. Okay, after successfully created user, we need to redirect back to the users page. For router, we need to create a fake implementation of router. So for this I'm creating one variable, that is router, mocking the router, which you can pass three things: query, path name, base path. This will create a fake implementation of router. After that we need to pass it inside router.context provider router. If you pass router to router context, that means router will be available inside this pages. So we are successfully filled the form. So we need to check key our create user API will be called with this value or not. So for this I'm using wait for method. Wait for doing, it will waiting till this successful condition will not fulfilled. Okay, so I'm waiting here. User service dot create user dot to have been called with name Sanjeev, email will be s@gmail.com, gender is male, and then date of birth will be this one, and then the role is admin, then terms and condition, this will be true. That means this function will be called with this value only, because we are typing name is Sanjeev, email is s@gmail.com. For gender male, date of birth is this one, role is admin, terms and condition will be true, and then we are clicking on button, and after successfully created user, we are redirects back to user page. So we are checking router.push will be called to have been called with users. Okay, let's try to run the test cases. Test cases will be passed successfully. Should create user when all the data is passed. Okay, then let us suppose if you don't fill the form and directly click on create button. Okay, so what I should do, I haven't filled the form and click on create button, so I'm get by rule whose name is create. Okay, so some error will be appear, so again I'm waiting, expect screen dot get by text. This one is basically used for whether this text will be present in DOM or not. So I'm checking user is mandatory, user is required, I guess. Okay, we check dot to be in the document. Okay, let's try to run the test cases. I'll see this one also. Key, if you don't fill the form and click on create button, what message will be there? Name is required, not user is required. And this will fail actually. Name is required. Try to run the test cases again. And this will pass. So you can check it for image. Email is not, email is required, DOB is mandatory, role is mandatory, and if you don't select any gender, gender is mandatory and all. So I'll check only two. Expect screen dot get by text. Dot to be in the document. Okay, and if the validation will fail, let's run first, then we'll write another one. If the validation will fail, that means our create user function not to be called. So we need to check this one also, and router.push will not called. So these two things I am checking here. Key expect user dot service dot create user dot not to be called. Same for router.push also. Key expect router.push not to be called if there is a validation error. Yeah, you can write more here, like if you don't pass date of birth value, role value, so you can check this one also. Role is mandatory, date of birth is mandatory also. I'll write one more. Screen dot get by text, role is mandatory. I'm writing regex, so I'm checking whether it is present in the document or not. I'm running the test cases. And the test cases will be passed. And that's it for create user. Thank you guys.